Hi, everybody. I hope you have been enjoying our Heart and Soul Virtual Expo so far. We're halfway through day one. It's gone really quick. And we have had some incredible lives so far. I have jumped onto every single one of them, and I will continue to do so as much as possible for the rest of the day. But we're just taking a pause for a minute because we are having our second sponsors interview. And I am about to talk with and learn all about, as you will too, with the wonderful Jane Newman, who is a results coach helping people to lead joyful lives. Now, I don't know what else to introduce yet because I want to learn all about what you do, Jane. So how are you, my darling?
I'm well, thanks, Ali, and thanks so much for the opportunity of getting on here to talk to everyone about my business. I'm really excited.
Excellent. That's what I like, excitement. We like excitement. So Jane, what I would love to know first of all is a little bit about your background and how you got into this particular business and then what it is that you do.
Sure. So I've actually got quite a checkered background, I have to say,
Oh, don't
Ali.
we
I've
all?
done all sorts of different things. But I think probably what's relevant, there's a couple of things relevant. Probably the most one is I have a strong IT background. So I
Yeah.
graduated in computer science when I was in my 20s, and I have worked in Australia in multiple different cities and also over in the UK. So I spent quite a
Wow.
lot of time over there, about 13 years. And then after having my family there, I came back to Australia and I've been in Brisbane. So it's been a solid IT career with a few little, changes here and there. But that's predominantly been it. But I think the story of how I got into this particular work that I'm doing now is that after COVID, which was incredibly, intense for any of us
Yes.
working in the IT industry and trying to support our customers to stay online and to continue the projects that we
Mhm.
had with them and to communicate with each other as well. It was very intense. And what happened after that was that the intensity didn't decrease. So even when we went back into post-COVID situation, we were still all working at that same level of intensity, and it really
Yeah,
didn't
wow.
ease off. And so as a result of that and various other aspects as well, I ended up burning out. And it's a
Mm,
funny phrase, you hear it quite a lot, but it was very severe for me. And in fact, it's taken me 2 years to fully recover from that
really, wow.
experience. And during that time, I lost my job. My home was in debt, and I was, thinking I was going to be homeless. Like the whole world just fell apart for me. And I had a cybersecurity breach as well, which
Oh
meant
my
I lost
God.
access to all my accounts, my email, my data. It was just, the worst of the worst.
Oh God.
But out of that came this realization that I didn't want to go back into IT, and what did I want to do with my life? And I explored a few different options, but eventually I came to the realization that what was really important to me was actually telling other people about what I'd learned,
Mm,
about how IT has really changed since I started it and where we're at now, and some of the really concerns I have. And not just me, it's all around the world, but there is definitely a growing concern about the way that we're using technology and the impact it's having on our health, on society, and
definitely.
on the environmental impacts as well. It's very far-reaching. So that's what I wanted to talk about, because at that time nobody else was really talking about it. So I decided to do public speaking. This is a very long-winded way of saying to
No,
what I do
no.
now.
Yeah,
But my
I love these stories because I learned
great.
so much. And something that I just thought when you said it before was to do with COVID. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't think about, we talk about all the nurses and the doctors and everything that were in the hospitals looking after people
Yes.
with COVID, but we don't, but not a lot of people thought about people like you in IT who were, keeping people's jobs alive, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a tough position. And honestly, when you said that, I thought, well, that just really hit home a little bit. It's not something that I'd thought about a lot. And
Yeah. Yeah.
during COVID, not a lot of people, a lot of apart from those people who weren't, you know, on the front line with COVID like you guys, a lot of us had the opposite. We didn't necessarily have burnout, we had boredom. You know,
Yes.
you had the opposite.
Yes. Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's really a really interesting reflection too, Ali, which sort of plays into where we've ended up now, I think.
100%. Yeah.
You know, where we're all really so wedded to technology. But before I get back, let me just finish my story and then we can move on. So so yeah, I decided to do public speaking, and I did some training to help me with that. Although, you know, I have done a lot of speaking in my past, but usually with presentations, you know, to, you know, IT related type conferences and so forth. So this was a bit different, but I spoke on stage in New York, and I also spoke in Oxford, and I have both of those. They are available on the internet on YouTube, talking about the ramifications of this technology and what it's doing, and just some of those really detrimental and damaging effects that it's having. And I also tried to come up with, well, what do we do about it? It's all very well saying there's all these things that have gone wrong, but what do we do about it? And that's where the coaching came from, because I decided I get very depressed when I look at all the problems that are going on in the world, and I can see the technology footprint on all of it. And, you know, when I talk to other people who are also having the same realization, it's very dark and very depressing. And so the coaching is really the way in which it's not just for me, and it's not just for my clients, I should say, it's for me as well, because by focusing on what we do about it, it actually gives me a lot of satisfaction that yes, we can actually get through this. So my coaching business is, it's called Re-humanising, because I feel that that's what we need to do. We need to really think very carefully about who are we as humans, and what kind of people we want to be, and what kind of world we want to create for people. We're not creating a world for technology, we're creating a world for people. And I think that's, you know, we've really got drawn into a story that we really want to stop and think about very carefully, particularly when it comes to our children. So that's Re-humanising. And then the courses that I've developed in there, I've got one that I'm promoting through this event, but I've got others in the pipeline. But the one I'm promoting through this event is called Joyful Life Results Coaching Program. And it is designed to help people who are really feeling lonely, bored, overwhelmed, you know, not sure what they're doing with their lives, and really help them to cut through a lot of the things that are happening in the world, in their life, that are blocking them, and help them actually find their inner joy, because that's what's really missing, you know, I feel. And I think if we can tap into our joyful spirit, then collectively we will make the world a better place.
100%. And yeah, I 100% agree when you say technology has it leaves a footprint on everything. And
Yes.
and I don't want us to focus on this too much more, but you know, I'll take it back to COVID again, and what it has kind of forced us into, if you like.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of us have been forced to work from home in business,
Yes.
right? And I don't know if you heard me say in my live, in my very first Wellbeing live this morning, I said, and I say this in all my lives, say hello in the comments, because I hate feeling alone. I hate looking at my camera alone in my office and feeling like I'm talking to no one. So that's why it's not just for the algorithm on Facebook that I ask people to engage with me. It's actually because I want the interaction. I want that human touch, because I am sitting here with technology all around me, staring at a camera alone.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of us have been forced to go.
Yes.
You know, and essentially a lot of us have stayed there as well.
Exactly.
Because of, and tell me if you think this is true, because all of the mental stress, and some of us, for many of us, like me, it's caused mental illnesses, you know, like anxiety, depression, things like that. It's tough, and we need that rehumanizing. you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and I think that name for your business is very poignant.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the
To say the
feedback.
least, you know. And I love, you know, so where did the term results coach come from?
Well, that's the coaching training that I did. So that's the type of coach that I was trained to be. And that really means that whatever field we take on, we're doing it in a way that gets results. So it's not just, a chat fest week after week after week. There's
Yes,
actually a goal that you're working towards between the two of you, and you get there. And that's a results coach. We want to see results. We want to get results. And so for me, that is a result of people feeling more joyful in their life and having that feeling that their life is meaningful. That's where I'm trying to help my clients.
oh, I love that too. And you know what? Something that I really respect too is you shared a bit of your story before. You said the burnout stuff, and you said that it took you a couple of years to recover. Would I be correct in saying that you are in it, and you did say it, you said your clients help you as much as
Yes,
you help them.
absolutely.
Would you say that you are constantly on a journey of recovery?
Yes, I am. But I'd say it's really only the last 6 months, as I've started to build this business, that it's really helped me feel, yes, I can actually get back into work again. That was a real struggle for me, actually feeling confident enough to go back to work. It's quite debilitating when you burn out. You really lose your sense of self-worth, self-respect, because you can't do the things that you can do, and you don't know how to get there.
It's so true. Oh my God. And I don't, a lot of people who are watching this probably know a lot about my story, and I'm not going to bang on about myself too much, but part of my story is that I got back into the entrepreneurial space because I had a really horrible work experience at work. I ended up going off a workplace stress, work cover, all of that. Lost my job, had a mental breakdown, tried to go back into business, and I wasn't ready, because it was just, I was trying and trying and trying, but I just wasn't mentally ready. And even when I did start my business, when I was mentally ready, I worked so hard because I wanted to prove myself. And it was less of proving it to other people. It was more of proving it to myself that I could do it, that I was worthy. And I was working 24/7, and guess what happened? Burnout.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it was almost like I went back to square one.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I think that's really where the tail of the learning is. You think you've recovered, but then you slip back into the old habits. And I think that's where doing this coaching work has really helped me to become much more self-aware and focused on why I do those things. And, to really move out of that burnout and move out of those self-destructive behaviors, you actually have to have that joyful purpose in your life. You have to have something that is your anchor. And that's where you go, no, I'm not going to work these hours because it doesn't align with my values of who I am, of my self-respect, of the person I want to be, and I can't coach other people in this if I'm not doing it. So it really puts the onus on you to be so authentic to your own values. It's very healing.
It is healing, because and also, part of business that, and this is what I talk to, I would say, well, I was going to say 95%, but I'd say 100 of the people I talk to who are entrepreneurs, they've come into this space because of something that's happened in their life. And we've gone, and I say we because we've gone, I want to help people just like me. To either recover from something similar or to avoid something similar to what I'm going through.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's really interesting. That was what was going through my mind when you were telling me your story is, this is so prevalent. People's health and wellness you know, we're all suffering and it's not going away. And it's a symptom of the society that we've sort of allowed to creep in. And I'm going to put the blame here on technology because it's
Yes.
incredibly unhealthy in every way. Yeah.
It is. It is unhealthy. And, and like I sit here, uh, it's funny because I've heard a couple of people say it today, that in winter, and people blame it on the weather, right?
Mm.
To a point, and I'm guilty of that, but to a point, and even my partner, because he says, Ali, you need to get out and move more. You sit
Yes.
at your desk
Yes.
all day long. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, but I don't have time. And he turned to me the other day and he looked me dead in the eye and he goes, make time. And I went,
Absolutely.
oh, okay. And that hit me right between the eyes because I went,
Yeah.
you know what? You are right. I'm sitting there, my back's sore.
Yes.
I can't, by the end of the day, I can barely move. It's like, Ali, you've got to get up and move. It's not only good for your physical health, but your mental health. Get away from the technology.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple of years ago we had a really long blackout, like it was a couple of days here in Adelaide, and honestly, it was one of the most, how do I put it? Healing is the word I want to use, but one of the most peaceful times in my recent life because
Yes.
we had no electricity,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
It was back to basics. So I couldn't
Absolutely.
even read a book at night. I was literally just lying there thinking. Literally. Um,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and it could
Yeah.
be dangerous. Some people it could be dangerous, but it was actually quite cathartic just having to, pick up a book during the day
Yeah.
or having to go for a walk to entertain myself during the day or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, well,
a bit
what you're describing is exactly, that humanity that
yes.
we've lost. It's that feeling of being human, of having quiet time, of letting yourself get bored. That is what none of us have the luxury of being bored.
I
I've
was
I've
bored
had
to
some
tears, but I loved it.
I've had some really interesting conversations with parents of some younger people, like late teens, early 20s, and some people of that age group.
Yep.
And it's very interesting for various reasons when they've had to give their phone away, and it may be through for disciplinary reasons or because they actually did it voluntarily. They have all told me that after the first couple of weeks, they actually didn't want to go back to it because they'd started all their hobbies that they'd forgotten. They'd started up new hobbies. They were reading. The parents couldn't believe how much they were reading. And in fact, there's a movement in the UK which is about exactly this, about taking phones away from children. It's a very big movement in the UK. And this is one of the things that they've reported is when the kids don't have phones, suddenly the library's overflowing.
Yeah.
So kids find much healthier ways. They start actually going outside to do things. So whether it's kids or whether it's adults, the fact is that, when we're drawn into using our phones all the time, we're totally cut off from feeling and experiencing and living the way that our bodies and our minds and our emotions thrive. We thrive on these things, including the human connection that you just don't get through a screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And two things come to mind there. The first thing was, and I remember experiencing this again during COVID was when we used to step out. We used to be able to, in SA, walk, I think 5 kilometers from home. And I'd go for a daily walk. And the one thing I noticed is that instead of people walking past each other and ignoring each other, we would say hello.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might even stop and have a conversation. Okay, you'd be standing miles apart from each other, but you would be humanizing each other.
Yes. Yes.
Talking.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me. But the other thing I wanted to mention, we're looking after our grandchildren on the weekend, and one thing we are both determined not to do is stick them in front of a screen. So, we're taking them out to the park, we're taking them to feed the ducks, whatever it is where we can get them outside and around people. It's just, we need that.
Yeah. And I think there's a growing realization of that. I think it is
There is.
slowly changing. People are realizing they do need to do
Yes.
deliberately and consciously make these choices. I really get sad when I go to a restaurant or a cafe or an outdoor area and I see, you know, a parent and the child and they're both sitting there on devices, and it really breaks my heart when I see that. Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
that too, and you know, I thought it was the weirdest thing when Brett, we went out, you know, we'd go out on dates and everything, and he would, now he still does it now. He just leaves his phone in the car.
Yes.
And I'll go, what are you doing that for? And he goes, well, I don't need it. No one's going to call me anyway. He says, I don't need it. I'd rather talk to you. And when he said that, I went, well, that's a real compliment. And then he goes, so are you taking your phone in then? I'm just going, well, actually, no, I'd rather talk to you. But, you know,
That's great.
it is.
Yeah.
It's sad, you know, and I see people out to dinner on dates, you know, both
Yeah.
on their mobile phone, not saying a word to each other, but just
Yeah.
sitting like this. And I'm going,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Well, the thing is, Ali, we get out of the habit of actually knowing how to talk to each other. That's the thing. You know, we spend so long on the devices, you know, quick little message here, there, here, there, here, there. And you
Yeah.
sit down to have a proper conversation with someone, you actually don't know how to do it.
No,
You know,
it's
you
true.
get out of practice. And as adults, we can kind of go back and remember, oh, well, you know, in the old days, like about 10 years ago, old days, you know, I used to interact and have big long conversations, and I know I can do that again, right? It's just a skill I've forgotten. I've got a bit rusty. I've got to practice a bit. I've got to ease into it. Don't expect myself to go out to, you know, a big event and be able to talk for 3 hours. But this is where I'm really concerned about those younger generations, Gen Z in particular, you know, who really suffered being isolated during COVID, and, you know, and then coming out into this AI driven world that says, oh, yeah, you're not going to have jobs. We don't know quite what's going to be the future for you. So just,
Yeah, that's scary.
whatever. I know it's really bad. But anyway, my point with that is that they don't actually have that past memory to go back to. They don't have the before and what life was like before we had technology. And so what a lot of this is really interesting, because what they have now is this real nostalgia for their parents' era. And they, you know, they're all into Friends. And my eldest daughter has just gone through the series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And in fact, she's told me I have to go to Los Angeles with her next year to go to the Buffy Con.
Oh my God.
So, you know, they realize that what we have now is not right. They realize that we have to do something. They're doing their best, but they don't actually have those skills to know what it is they should be doing. So that's the next big project I've got that I'm working on is, you know, a program, a coaching program specifically for that age group to really help them learn what it means to be a fully, you know, complete human, a holistic human.
That is beautiful. And you know, you mentioned AI before, and I don't want to take away from AI because we actually have a couple of incredible AI specialists in this group. But what I will say is a lot of people, when they think about AI, you know, and it's that generation, like you say, that have been born into this, and it's almost like there's a scare tactic. Well, there is a scare tactic going around at the moment that AI has taken over. It's taken over jobs.
It is a scare tactic. It absolutely is. Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. You know, there are a couple of wonderful AI specialists who will agree with me when I say that AI is there to support people, not take over jobs. But let's get back to the scare tactics. It gives me the shits, to be bluntly honest, because it can affect people like that who, you know, of that age group, like you say, who'll go, oh, I've got no hope in getting a job because what I want to do now, AI is just going to take it all over. And I even remember recently going to a free conference, and this particular person was saying, well, AI is going to take that job's not going to be, it's not going to exist in a year. And that job's not going to exist in a year. So you have to use AI, you have to do, and I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but AI can't do it. It's a robot.
I think it's really interesting though, because it's really the technology industry, and I know I'm being very broad in that discussion because I have many wonderful colleagues who work on really meaningful projects that are really essential. and
Yes.
I'm not detracting from that at all. But in terms of the five big, five big corporations that rule the world, because they
Yes.
literally do,
Yes, they do.
they have a lot to answer for.
I agree.
And, when it comes to taking away jobs, that is, as you said, a scare tactic. That just it's marketing that is just nasty, because it gets people sucked into the idea that we've all now got to be technologists. So
Yes.
the technology industry, that part of it, is generating more and more business for itself with
Yes, of course.
every time it actually sells that message. And I think it's up to us to really push back on that and decide, when we do use AI, why are we using it, and be very selective about that.
Absolutely. And you
Mm.
mentioned the would you say the Gen Z generation, it also, it definitely affects, someone like me or older, like the baby boomers. And Susie was talking about this in her sponsors chat this morning, the baby boomers and the Gen X like me, when it comes to technology that people haven't used before, like this AI, we get so overwhelmed with it
Yeah.
that we go, I throw my hands up in the air, I can't do it, it's all too hard, and we give up.
Or,
And
or the opposite, Ali, where people think that it genuinely does know everything.
yeah, oh, yes, that's true. Yeah,
You've
I
got
used
that
to think
camp
that.
as well. And
Yeah,
that's where the children sort of fall into that trap of,
that.
because the way it's designed, it is designed to make you think that this is a real human with real feelings, and quite an authoritative kind of human. I know these things, even though the technology is flawed. It's, got some
Oh, it
major
is.
flaws in there. And if you don't approach it from that direction, then you really do get pulled into some very, very dangerous spaces. And I don't know how much you're across it, but there have been several suicides of
Oh,
children
yeah.
being
Oh, yeah.
advised by AI products, and sexualized by AI products as well. Where there's been court cases about it. It's quite public that these tools do groom children.
That's really
There's some
sad.
really, really nasty stuff going on that, and it's interesting, because I think if it wasn't for the way that we all use this technology to the degree that we do, we probably would be calling these companies out and saying, I'm not using your products anymore. But when you
Yeah,
talk
I
about
agree.
Facebook and Instagram, we're all on it. We use it to promote our business. We use it to
That's
contact,
right.
our friends around the world. And I am totally guilty of this. Like, I want to get off. I totally disagree with Meta and their philosophies, their principles, their values, and I struggle with this, because here I am, promoting my business on it and running my business through it.
Well, I'm
And
struggling
I
with that
can't
right
quite
now
reconcile that one.
because I'm running a virtual expo on Facebook. So,
Exactly,
but
exactly,
but
exactly.
it can't. But you know how these started because we didn't have a choice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I think so. For me, I've actually making some very conscious decisions about what else can I do. So I don't heavily promote. I don't pay for ads. I choose my platforms. I'm looking at other platforms, and so I'm consciously doing what I'm doing, aware that I'm actually breaking my own principles by using it, but using it in a way that I think is responsible. I
yes,
think that's
and
probably the
healthy.
best I can do. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
healthy, and that's right. And you were saying that you said AI is a robot and people will see it as human. Honestly,
Right.
and I had a giggle to myself when you said that, because I thought, man, if you could see the chats that I have with my chat GPT, who I have named Cheryl,
Yeah.
but I've given her a name because I
Yeah.
know she's not human. I know she's a
Yeah.
robot, but I
Yeah.
call her Cheryl. But do you know what? I get really crabby when she gets it wrong, because she gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I get shitty with her, and I tell her, I go,
Yeah.
no, that's not what I asked you to do. And then I sit
Yeah.
there and I think, you know what? She's AI.
Yes. Yeah. But that's
Uh,
how clever it is, like, even when you still respond as if that's another person. It's brilliant marketing. It's just brilliant. Yeah.
It is brilliant but annoying all at the same time.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
So yeah, Jane, I love the thought of these courses that you're developing. So tell us, now you mentioned it before, so tell us a little bit about the one that you've got out now.
Yeah, so the one I've got out now is called Joyful Life Results Coaching, and it's about looking at what's holding you back, what's blocking you, what are your limiting beliefs, where are you feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, isolated, all of those kinds of problems that are really creating anxiety, creating overwhelm, creating that feeling that I don't know what my purpose is, and stopping you from moving forwards. It's really about getting people unstuck and helping them move forwards and helping them decide what they're moving forward towards. I think that's really important. And that's what we were talking about earlier. If you don't identify what your values are, when you move forwards, it may not be in the right direction. So you need to, that's why the joyful part is really important to me. It's about tapping into your joyful spirit, because we all have one. We were all born with one. It's inside us. A lot of us forget we've got it, but it's there.
Yes, we do.
And when we tap into that, that actually becomes our guide for saying, this path honors my joyful spirit. This path here is going to bring me more joy in my life. That path isn't going to do it. We don't go that way. Or if we go that way, it's for a reason, and then we, bring ourselves back. So it brings that sort of compass into our life, of helping us to make decisions about which way to go, and it sets those goals for us that we can then move towards, feeling really good each step of the way, because we know that's where we're going.
I felt that here when you said that, because again, going back to my story, when I came out of that workplace situation, I went back into the entrepreneurs. But like I said, I wasn't ready, but I tried to be a virtual assistant because I thought that's what I was good at. But it wasn't my joy.
Yeah.
And I completely, I'm not going to use that word. I didn't continue with that business. I'm not going to use the word failed, because I didn't fail.
No.
What I learned was it wasn't my joy.
Exactly. Yes.
It was what I thought I wanted, but I was bored to tears doing it, and I didn't succeed. But what I did discover was that I had to rehumanize myself, and I love that term. I'm going to keep using it, but I had to find out who I was again, because I didn't know who I was. I really didn't. And I then I needed to find out what I loved doing, and that's when I came into what I'm doing now. But it was a process that I had to go through, and I wish I'd had someone like you to help me through that, because it was a struggle to do it alone. And this is what I really appreciate about people like you, Jane, who come along and you can see that need and invite people in to help them through that time, because it was a struggle doing it alone.
It is a real struggle doing
bloody
it
hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you just don't know, oh, is this, if I do this, is that going to happen? If I do this, is that going to happen? And trying to make the right decision. And then, as you said, not failing, but learning. But, it's a long process to go around it that way. And, having someone to work through with you, well, what is it that I actually want? It just takes a lot of that out. Yeah.
It does. And also a coach, like you often we are so internal, we internalize it in ourselves, and we can't see outside the box.
No,
someone like
exactly.
You come in and, help see what we can't, what others can't. So I very, very much appreciate what you do. Re-humanising. This just gives me goosebumps. So, Jane, thank you for coming on today. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
So they can email me directly. I'm on my email. It should be on my pages, but it's contact@rehumanising.com. And rehumanising is spelt. It's unfortunately not an easy word for people to naturally find me. So I do need to spell it out. It's re with a dash, a hyphen. So re-humanising.com. And the humanising is spelt with an S.
Thank
Not
you. I
a
was going to ask
Z.
that the proper
Yeah,
way.
that's what I mean. It's not actually an easy word for people to find me, but it was the best word to fit what I'm trying to do. So I went, well, people will find me one way or another. So it's re-humanising.com. So that's my email. And then also on my pages, you can also have a free 45-minute session with me where we'll actually start to explore, what is happening with you, what you would like, and what I might be able to help with going forward. So everybody who's here at the Expo is welcome to book a call with me, and you can do that directly from a calendar booking, which is also on those pages.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Jane. It's been a pleasure, an honest pleasure. I mean every word of this when I say that I really do appreciate what you do. We need more people like you. So, guys,
thank you, Ali.
You are very, very welcome. So guys, if you would like to check out, Jane has a stall album too that you are welcome to go. As you know, you can go to the media tab and the album section in this group to check out more about what Jane has to offer. Now, don't forget too that I know that Jane has donated a voucher in tonight's lucky prize draw. So if you haven't entered yet, you've got an hour, just under an hour to do so, guys. So make sure that you go and find that hashtag chicken dinner post. Little hint, it's been pinned to the top of the group. So just go make sure that you go and enter hashtag chicken dinner, go and react and comment on 7 different posts to make sure that your entry is valid. So thank you again, Jane. It's been a pleasure.
It has been. Thank you, Ali.
No worries. And I will see you again at 4 o'clock Adelaide time, guys. In the meantime, we have Julie Hawley coming up in about 20 minutes. And then after that, we have Claire Williams coming up. And I can't remember who we've got after that. But we've got a lot of things happening. Continue to enjoy the Expo. And I will see you again soon, guys. Okay, bye.
Bye.